Reports today that four of Spurs' main marquee targets' futures are finally close to being decided. Meanwhile, West Ham have got a deal done for a player that was on Tottenham's list. And Dani Olmo and Nico Williams, two of the players of the Euros, seem not to be keen to come to the Prem. All this and more on today's daily Premier League transfer news with me, Barnaby Slater. Before we get into it, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening as ever. Please do give this video a like. It really helps it get up the algorithm and seen by more people. And if you haven't already, please do press subscribe. I'm so close to 10,000 subscribers now, within 100. So press that subscribe button, get me over the line to 10,000 subs, and spread the word to anyone else who you think might like daily content about Tottenham, but also wider ranging transfer news from the Premier League. Also, you can become a member, only £1 a month, and that helps me make this daily content for you. All the details in the description box below. But let's get started, and as ever, with Tottenham. That was a little bit of a Freudian slip there, as ever, because I'm going to be talking about Eberechi Eze. According to the Express, Tottenham are now intensifying efforts to sign Wolves' Pedro Neto. That is after talks have stalled with Crystal Palace for Eberechi Eze. As I've said all summer, I think Eze will be our marquee signing. I also think there's a chance that we may end up with both Eze and Neto. Now, I know a lot of you are now going to be shouting at your screen saying there's no way Daniel Levy will push the boat out for both of them. But I do think there's a chance that if we get all of the deadwood out and maybe Richarlison leaves to Saudi Arabia, that maybe there'll be enough money in the budget to then push the boat out for those two. Spurs have apparently held further talks over the last days with Neto and his representatives over personal terms, having previously had some initial talks with the player. And in fact, Wolves head coach Gary O'Neill, very talented young manager, he was asked about Pedro Neto yesterday, and he said the following. He said, "If a huge offer comes from a big club, no one will stand in Pedro's way." Now, as ever, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Pedro Neto's injury record is appalling, and he has had a really bad injury record, that's for sure. But he is an incredibly talented player, and he is someone I would love to see in a Spurs shirt. But I think a lot of it rides on this Eze deal. And as talked about before, Crystal Palace they renegotiated Eze's contract only, I think, a year, 18 months ago. And there was a release clause put into that contract. And from everything that I hear and I read, that release clause is £60 million. But the key part of it is that it has to be all paid up front with then some bonuses on top. And that will be what Daniel Levy and Johan Lange and Scott Munn are trying to renegotiate the terms of. So, I know it's frustrating, I do, but I still think the Eze deal may well happen. And if not, Neto's in the wings. And like I said, I do think there's a chance that maybe both of them will come. How would you feel? Let me know in the comments. Would you be happy if we got Eze and Neto in through the door by the end of this transfer window? Would it appease any frustrations you may have over the time it is taking for Tottenham to get in some kind of properly first team signings? I know for me, Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray, they will be pushing the first team, absolutely. And I think Bergvall may even start against Leicester on the first day. But I know what a lot of you are saying in terms of frustrations. No actual players who you know are going to get straight into the first team. And I think Eberechi Eze absolutely would. Speaking of marquee signings, according to Gary Jacob, the journalist Gary Jacob, Ivan Toney, who Spurs have tracked for a long time now, and especially this summer, he looks increasingly likely to stay at Brentford. And that is because the player that they bought to replace him has just done, I think, his medial ligaments and is out for the rest of this year. So Brentford in a little bit of a tricky position because they want to make some money on Ivan Toney, who only has a year left on his deal, but also, can they realistically afford to go out and buy another striker now to play if Ivan Toney does go? There are also rumours, though, that Man United are now upping their interest in Ivan Toney because they have an injury to Rasmus Højlund. In fact, Man United pre-season is going about as well as their last season went under Erik ten Hag, because their brand new signing, Lenny Yoro, who everyone was incredibly excited about at centre-back and was also apparently on Tottenham's list initially, he has broken his metatarsal and will be out for 2 to 3 months. And also, according to a lot of the kind of Man United journos and fan accounts that I look at, in the preseason so far, there's been no improvement in the style of play on the pitch whatsoever. And that is, of course, what a lot of Man United fans are really looking for. United in a very similar place, I think, to what Spurs were under Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho, which is that thing of it's all well and good when you're nicking results 1-0 or 2-1 here and there, but when the results stop, as they definitely did for Man United last year in the league anyway, let's not forget they did win the cup, but when the results stop, the fans just get very unhappy with the style of play. And it's very surprising to me that Erik ten Hag has not been able to instill a style of play at Old Trafford, because he did so wonderfully at Ajax with that team with, Ziyech, Donny van der Beek, Matthijs de Ligt, all those great players. Onana was there at the time as well. And they had such a great style of play. Came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, won 1-0 in that semi-final first leg, of course, and absolutely played us off the park. So I'm surprised at Ten Hag, but I have to say, for Spurs, it's really good news, because I think there's a chance that we'll keep Man United quite far behind us this season. I don't see them improving that much. I really don't. And long may that continue as Spurs kind of try and push up into the Champions League places and hoping to challenge. Okay, huge reports over the last 24 hours. Some conflicting back and forth, but clearly the future of Conor Gallagher, Chelsea's Conor Gallagher, is getting closer to being resolved. The reports yesterday claimed that Spurs plan to hijack Atletico Madrid's deal to sign the Chelsea midfielder. The talks between Atletico Madrid and Chelsea are at an advanced stage. According to Fabrizio Romano, Tottenham are keeping a very close eye on Conor Gallagher and the Atletico Madrid situation. So all that talk was that maybe we're going to go and basically wait for Atletico Madrid to have their bid accepted and then try and gazump them, similar to what we did to Brentford for Archie Gray. That agreement between Atletico and Chelsea has apparently been done, according to some other reports, for €40 million, and it's all up to Conor himself to decide. Then, some more rumours came out late last night that Chelsea had in fact offered Conor Gallagher a last-minute late contract offer, which was a proposal of 2 years plus a further option for a season. That 3-year contract proposal was rejected, and that salary apparently from Chelsea was comparable to their highest earners in midfield. So Conor Gallagher has rejected that offer from Chelsea apparently. That would lead you to believe that he does actually want to leave the club. However, he was also back in June, apparently, according to reports this morning, Chelsea had accepted an offer from Aston Villa, which would have been Aston Villa's highest ever transfer fee paid. But Conor Gallagher rejected that move. So now he has to decide on Atletico Madrid. And in terms of relevance for Spurs, and I know a lot of you aren't that excited about the possibility of Conor Gallagher coming, and it looks like he's probably not going to come now. But I do wonder whether the fact that we're going in for Conor Gallagher and Jacob Ramsey at Aston Villa is because of what Ange realises the problems we have in terms of defending transitions. We need legs going backwards as much as we do going forwards. But anyway, the stories this morning coming out saying that Conor Gallagher has never really had a real desire to join one of Chelsea's big rivals, aka Tottenham, given his love for his boyhood club. So it looks like the Conor Gallagher saga is close to finishing and that Tottenham will not be signing him. It looks most likely Atletico Madrid, if anyone. If not, then having rejected that contract offer from Chelsea, looks most likely that he will stay, see out his contract and see what offers he has on a free transfer next summer. Let me know in the comments what you think about Conor Gallagher. Would you have liked to see him at Spurs? Do you agree with me that the potential reason that we're looking at players like him and Ramsey is because of the amount of goals we're conceding and the kind of help needed in front of the back four when we are conceding transitions? Because let's face it, a lot of the goals we concede, maybe as well as defensive corners, are from transitions where teams break on us when we are up in their final third. Okay, according to lots of reports, the other saga, the Emerson Royale saga, the countdown has begun. The long negotiation apparently very close to concluding, possibly in the next few hours. Milan's latest offer, €14 million plus €4 million in bonuses. Very close to Tottenham's request, which is now at €15 million. That is a firm stance, though, apparently. Daniel Levy, €15 million guaranteed. If they get to that, AC Milan, the deal will happen. It's only €1 million in difference. Hoping that will be a here we go from Fabrizio Romano today, Thursday. I'm recording this at lunchtime, so maybe it'll happen this afternoon. Hopefully some of you saw the watch along of me presenting on We Are Tottenham TV against the Spurs game against the K-League All-Stars yesterday. I also put a match review that I did on my feed, so if you haven't checked that out, go and do that. But some good quotes from Ange Postecoglou afterwards about the game. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the game. I thought it was very exciting, but again, like I said, Spurs conceding so many chances from transitions. Ange Postecoglou said the following. He said, "I thought it was a decent game. Obviously with the conditions, and we've been training pretty hard, so we didn't probably look as sharp as we have been. But within that, I thought the players still gave everything and some good passages of play. The game was very open at the end, I think, very stretched. As I said, the conditions were really difficult for the players, but they never stopped. They kept trying to play, and I think overall we were better for that game. Did you watch the game? If you did, they had a drinks break on 20 minutes, and the cameras got really close to where the Spurs players were gathered around Ange Postecoglou, and he went absolutely ballistic at them. He was like, for fuck's sake, all I ask for you is that you give it one-on-one, like man-to-man, work man-to-man. Very impressive to see Ange kind of at his angry best, just giving them a very simple instruction. And as soon as he did that, it went within 10 minutes from being like 0-0 in the game to Spurs being 3-0 up at half-time. So it's very impressive. Ange was also asked about Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall and Pat Matasar playing together in the first half. He said, yeah, I thought it worked okay. Obviously, they are three very young players in that midfield setup. And as you said, the first time they had played together. But yeah, for the most part, I thought they handled it pretty well. I think Lucas found it tough physically. It's a very demanding role in there, and it's going to take us a while to get him up to speed from a physical perspective. But you can see the quality he has when he's on the ball. And Archie, he's what he's shown the whole time. He's been very composed. He seems to understand the game really well. And, for the most part, I thought he was taking up the right positions. But again, physically, I think we're going to have to build him up. And I thought Pap's running is just unbelievable. He's a benchmark for us in that midfield area. So yeah, I think the three of them, considering they're so young, and that's the exciting bit, if we keep pushing them and improving them, they're going to be very good footballers for us. Let me know what you think of those quotes from Ange on, particularly on Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall. I wonder if that's a little bit of a, trying to give the fans a little bit of a calm down, because I have to say I'm guilty of this myself. I'm so excited about those two players, and specifically Lucas Bergvall. As I said at the top of the show, I'm really expecting Bergvall to maybe start against Leicester, but maybe our Big Ange Postecoglou is saying to us, just calm down. Yes, they're going to be incredible footballers for us, but they're not quite at the fitness level yet, and they're not quite taking up the correct positions within the style as yet, and it's going to take time. So almost kind of, keeping our feet on the ground about the exciting level that these players can reach, but asking us not to expect them to reach it straight away, which frankly, if that's what he is doing, and I think he is pretty smart man management. Jamie Donnelly played left back again yesterday, and for me, he was man of the match in that first half especially. He was asked recently about playing left back. He said, I'm used to it now. I'll play wherever the manager wants me to. I'm still young, so I'm learning different positions. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and if he wants me to play there, I'll play. It's maybe not as challenging in possession, because the way he plays with the fullbacks inverted, I'm quite comfortable in that position, but obviously defensively, it's something that I've got to learn, and I might need to play there in my career sometimes, and yeah, I'm learning. Matt Wells, who has been coaching the defence, has helped me a lot, and they work a lot on defensive drills. He's helped me a lot, and I've just got to keep learning. It's about keeping a strong line. Obviously, we look to play a strong line, ready to turn and run back to our own goal. Being aggressive, showing outside, making sure the winger can't get any crosses in. Being aggressive is the main thing. It's about being brave as well. I'm very impressed with Jamie Donnelly. I know a lot of you guys in my comments as well have been telling me, having watched a lot of the under-21s and youth teams down the years, that Donnelly is the one who's really stood out, certainly before Mikey Moore started coming through. And he's clearly got an incredible football brain, because he's like an 8 or a 10, but he's starting to play in that left-back position. And he's really gone from someone who I thought would definitely go on loan to this season somewhere, maybe a championship club, to being in a position now where maybe he'll get some minutes in the Europa League. I don't know. Nothing is sure, but very impressed with those quotes. Clearly got his feet on the ground and willing to learn. And that is a pattern amongst all of these exciting young Spurs players who we're seeing in this pre-season. Their willingness to learn. Thinking particularly of like Lancashire, Donnelly, Mikey Moore. Very, very exciting. In fact, George Abbott has really impressed me as well. He came on at the weekend in centre back, came on yesterday at left back. Willing to learn, willing to play anywhere, and listening to everything that Ange is saying and coaching them. In terms of Spurs news, Christian Romero was named in the Copa America team of the tournament. Obviously, Argentina won that. He is now up there, I think, in the top 3 centre-backs in the world. What an unbelievable player. Can't wait to get him back for Spurs. Ironically, he was in that Copa America team of the tournament at centre-back alongside Big Davison Sanchez. Colombia's Davison Sanchez, who got so much abuse from Spurs fans before we sold him on. but playing well for his country. Okay, guys, before I go into some more wide-ranging Premier League transfer news, once again, please do give this video a like if you haven't already. Press subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Trying to reach that 10,000 subscribers mark. I'm within 100 of it. Help me get to that 10,000 subscribers mark. And please do tell any friends or family who you think might like this daily Spurs content and transfer content. Get them to come over and give me a subscribe as well. And also, please do become a member. Only £1 a month, just £1 a month. And all the details are in the description box below. So, more Premier League transfer gossip and news. Paris Saint-Germain are expected to sign midfielder João Neves from Benfica in a deal which sees Renato Sanchez go the other way. That's relevant to the Premier League because Manchester United were after João Neves originally. That's according to Sky in Germany. The French club PSG are set to give Benfica €60 million and €10 million in add-ons. As I mentioned, Neves was widely linked with Man United, who are now more interested in signing PSG's midfielder Manuel Ugarte. We talked about that a few times. Sky Sports News are reporting that PSG do not want to sell Ugarte to Man United for less than £58 million, £59 million. However, some reports have come out this morning suggesting that they would now accept a loan fee plus an obligation to sign or an option. Their aim is to make a profit on what they paid for Ugarte when they bought him last summer from Sporting Lisbon. Meanwhile, in terms of outgoings at Old Trafford, United have just rejected a bid from Fulham for Scott McTominay, which is apparently in excess of £20 million, but United want £30 million for the Scottish captain. Interesting moves from Fulham, in fact, isn't it? Because they've got Emile Smith-Rowe. If they could pair him in midfield with Scott McTominay, I think that would be a really decent midfield in terms of potentially under Marco Silva, pushing Fulham from that kind of upper bottom half into kind of more towards those kind of Europa League places. Some smart moves going on over at Fulham. Over to Man City, their player Jan Couto will travel to Germany today to do a medical and complete a move to Borussia Dortmund. The deal is an initial loan, easy for me to say, with a £25.3 million obligation for a buyback clause for Man City. Once again, I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. Almost the most difficult thing to stomach with Man City, it's not the most difficult thing to stomach, but one of them, is how much they've invested in their academy and how much then they are able to make money off players who barely ever play for the club. Just on the back of the fact that I think other clubs think, well, if you've come up through the City Academy or you've played in Man City's teams, then you will be good enough and brilliant enough for us. And so another £25 million going to Man City. And that is, they've made, I think, over £450-500 million through basically players who've never really played for the first team. Quite incredible. Over to Liverpool. Liverpool and England defender Joe Gomez, 27 now. He remains open to leaving this summer after a move to Newcastle fell through. That was towards the end of the last month and the profit and sustainability rules deadline. West Ham have reached an agreement with Crescencio Somerville from Leeds. That has been personal terms agreed. The player has said yes. Negotiations underway between West Ham and Leeds. But Fabrizio Romano says that is a deal that will be done. And Somerville was on Tottenham's list. A lot of Tottenham fans were excited at the prospect of maybe him coming in. So I'm expecting more kind of frustration from Tottenham fans as another player on our list looks to be going elsewhere. Fulham, as I mentioned, they've actually signed another player, a Spanish centre-back, Jorge Cuenca from Villarreal. That is a deal that has been done. 24-year-old defender joining Emile Smith-Rowe as a definite incoming. They're getting their deals done early, Fulham, to be fair to them. Arsenal closing in on Mikel Merino, the Spanish international. Verbal agreement now done. Real Sociedad, it's going to be a deal worth excess of €30 million. Meanwhile, Marseille apparently willing to pay £17 million for Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal. He's now 25. Talks expected to continue. And finally, is it finally? No, I've got a bit more general information to go through. But finally, in terms of transfers in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest have signed the winger Jota Silva from Vitória Guimarães in Portugal for £10.1 million. I wonder if he'll be another kind of young, exciting success like Murillo was for Nottingham Forest, a player who kind of we'd never heard of but comes to Forest and does really well. The 25-year-old who's been dubbed the Portuguese Jack Grealish. He signed a 4-year contract at Forest. It's going to be an initial £6 million paid and then 4.2 on add-ons. Sky Sports also understand that Vitória Guimarães will receive 20% of any future sale. Silva scored 15 goals and had 7 assists in 42 appearances in all competitions last season and has 2 caps for Portugal. So good signing for Nottingham Forest, I'd say. I mentioned at the top about Dani Olmo and Nico Williams. Well, Barcelona have reached agreement with Dani Olmo on personal terms, contract till June 2030, and they've sent a proposal to RB Leipzig, 55 million euros guaranteed with some add-ons. Meanwhile, Barcelona, according to The Athletic, have now practically zero chance of signing Nico Williams. Looks like he might actually stay at Athletic Bilbao, and if he does, I'd say fair play to you, Nico Williams, because you can basically have your pick of any club in the world right now based on your Euros and how brilliant you are. But if you're going to stay at Athletic Bilbao, very impressive. Meanwhile, I'm sure you saw yesterday, but real story that surprised me. Jurgen Klopp has revealed on ESPN that he thinks his managerial career might be over. He's been asked whether he'd be interested in taking over from Gareth Southgate as England manager. He said it would be the biggest about turn in managerial history if he left Liverpool saying he needed a proper break and then went straight into another job. He says he thinks that for now, he cannot see himself managing again, but who knows how he'll feel after that break. And then a final bit of news, which I think is more funny than anything else. Steve McLaren has left his job on the coaching team at Man United to take over as the manager of the Reggae Boys, the Jamaican national football team. They were linked with Steve Bruce last week, but they went with someone very similar to Steve Bruce in terms of having a ruddy face, and that is Steve McLaren. And obviously everybody on social media, I'm sure you remember when Steve McLaren went to work in Holland, he did some press conferences and without realising kind of took on the Dutch accent, and everybody on social media just begging Steve McLaren not to make the same mistake again now that he's the manager of the Reggae Boys. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to today's daily Premier League transfer news with me, Barnaby Slater. Please, if you haven't already, give the video a like. Press subscribe. Help me over that 10,000 subscriber mark. It'd be so exciting to get over that. Really, it would be great if you could help me spread the word to any friends or family you think might like this content. Get them to subscribe to. And please do become a member. Only £1 a month. All the details in the description box below. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Cheers.